just want to let everybody know that we will be recording this session. I know that sometimes teachers want to keep this and share with other classes that they might not have been able to join with us today. So I appreciate, like I said, whenever you can, to put the name of your school that you are representing today. And we are going to get started very quickly. This should last about 45 minutes, give or take. We will have time for Q&A. And if we don't get to your Q&A today, please send us an email and then we'll make sure to share those questions with our presenter so that we can get answers for you all. This is part of a new initiative for the Green Schools Challenge. By coming today, your school can get bonus points as well for participating. So, we definitely want to say thank you in that way for the Green Schools Challenge. The agenda today will basically we are going to be talking very quickly about the energy sector. We're going to be introducing our guest speaker. He's going to give a presentation. We're going to ask some questions of him, and then we're going to have you all ask some questions as well. We really want to focus this section on energy, and so specifically solar, but just wanted to put up there on the screen that there are different types of energy sources that help power our world and are very important. Throughout the presentation, we will be sharing a couple of slides. And so just want to make sure that everyone has access to a screen. If not, again, we'll be videotaping this so we can share the video. Really quickly, just wanted to show last year, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, U.S. primary energy consumption by energy source is still only 9% renewable. So that's something to think about. And with that, we're looking at clean energy versus renewable energy. They have a lot of overlap. But this is something that, we need to focus on, and our presenter is going to be talking a little bit more today. So again, we'll be going back and forth with some slides, but it is my pleasure to introduce Juan David Payares joining us. He's the founder and CEO of Payoli Solar. His company, and he is a leader in transforming the renewable energy landscape with innovative solar storage and electric vehicle charging and microgrid solutions. You can see a little bit more about him and all his accomplishments. He has an engineering background. And so again, this is a series to see what green careers, what they're studying, schools are studying, students are studying in their classrooms can lead to jobs and careers in the future. So with that, Juan David, I am going to turn it over to you. I am going to stop sharing my screen, and you should be able to share your screen.
Good morning. Thank you, Barbara, for inviting us. Thank you for having us here, and thank you for all the team that put this together. Very excited to be part of this, and hopefully we can share some of that experience and some of that journey that we've gone through in the last couple of years into the renewable sector. So I'll be sharing my screen. Let's see if I can look at this. Yep. Okay. Okay, which one are you seeing? Let's see.
Hi, Juan David Payares. That's the screen.
Okay, you guys are seeing the actual one. Okay, got it. Let's just know how to find the right one here. Perfect. All right. So, as you were saying, my name is Juan David Payares. Been an engineer for quite some time in the renewable sector. I'll be talking a little bit about my career path and how I ended up doing what I'm doing today. and what are some of the things that happen in between those things, and how do we get started into the renewable energy space. So, I mean, my background obviously is in engineering in this case, but I also had a diverse, opportunities where I was a corporate guy before I became an entrepreneur. So I used to work with different companies and manage some of those divisions until I decided to really just break off of that path and started my own company. So what do we do, and how did this whole thing start? It really started with one main goal. When I started looking into, okay, what do I want to do for, you know, long term? And I wanted to leverage that renewable energy passion and to build something that would improve the lives of families, the community around us, businesses, whether it was businesses, whether it was homeowners, whether it was organizations, non-for-profits, churches. So I found that all of those had something in common, and it was energy. Everyone needs energy. So how can I impact all of them at once? If I do something with energy and it's renewable and it's something clean and it's something that I'm passionate about, then I think I'm gonna go for that. And that's how it all started coming together. A little bit about my educational journey. I started with an engineering degree. I had the privilege to have to work and go to school at the same time, so that helped a lot as well. And in 2008, I graduated from FIU as a mechanical engineer. I did get a couple more certifications throughout school and after school. Some of them were heating and ventilation. I became an expert in HVAC systems. After that, I was recruited by General Electric, big company. Back in those days, GE was probably, if not the best, company or the biggest company in the world. And it was a very, very good program that I went through with them and graduated from the Edison Engineering Development Program in 2011. It's essentially a master's degree program with them, and they rotate, every 6 months for 2 years. Then I did a couple more things like they say Sigma. Then after I broke from the corporate world, I went more into a contracting business, and that's how I started the Payoli solar business. And I have a couple of other things to do, to out there. But what this really is there's always a plan and there's always a path. You just have to get it organized and start, making sure that you complete those things, right? From there, this is just a couple of pictures of previous experience in different places of the world throughout my career. Some of them you're going to see with Electrolux, some of them, in Asia, some of them in Latin America. You can see Asia, you can see Peru, China, Singapore, Louisville, Kentucky, Malaysia, and then also here in the US. So what this tells us is you really have the option to to go and pursue your dreams. And those dreams might manifest in different ways, but you just have to find, what's yours and work towards that. What does an engineer, really do? There's a couple of things that people think of engineers, especially when they think of mechanical engineers. Oh, you're gonna be working on cars, or you think of electrical engineers. Oh, you're gonna be working on power. But there's so many different things. But let's talk a little bit about this. I'm gonna share a little video with you on that. So let me just share the screen. I'm trying to share my screen here. Stop sharing and share something else. Okay, what do you guys see on your screen?
The video.
The video.
Perfect. Here.
But we don't hear anything. I don't know if it is.
You don't hear the video?
No. I think you have to reshare, and when you share, there is a little button that says with audio.
Okay, let me go back here. Advanced sharing options. No, it's not that. There's sound. Okay.
You drag yourself to the shower.
Does that work now?
Yes.
Perfect.
What is engineering? Let's take a moment to think about your morning. The alarm on your phone goes off at 7:03. You drag yourself to the shower and blast yourself with perfectly warm water in an attempt to wake up. You smear your toothbrush with too much toothpaste and scrub yourself into a foamy mess of minty freshness. You're running late, so you skate downtown, weaving through the commuters, dart across the road, barely making the lights, and jump on the train just before the doors beep shut. There's a couple of stops to go, so you pull out your phone and play a few games of Angry Birds. Alarms, trains, traffic lights, video games, toothpaste, all these things were made possible by engineers. But what prompts an engineer to improve our world? Well, they solve problems. Problems are an engineer's inspiration, and maths and science are the creative tools they use to solve them. Problems like making your alarm go off at the right time, or making sure your toothpaste has just the right balance of chemicals to give you that perfect smile, or even making a game so addictive it's almost impossible to put down, if that really is a problem. Now let's head over to the airport and jump on an aeroplane. Ah, aeroplanes. They're so easy to take for granted. But don't forget, you can fly! Before aeroplanes, flying was quite a bit more challenging. Every bit of your plane has been touched by engineers. A mechanical engineer designed the engine. A mechatronics engineer devised the controls. The fuel? Extracted by mining engineers and refined by chemical engineers. The navigation systems? Electrical and software engineers created those. Yep, a whole team of engineers. So what is engineering? It's solving problems. It's taking crazy, out there ideas and seeing if they're actually possible. And when they are, the idea is shared with the world to make all our lives better.
Perfect. So let me go back here. And let me start here again. Let me go back here. All right, we're back to presentation mode. You guys see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So, I mean, what does an engineer do? Essentially, we work on everything around us, everything that you see around us, and everything that has been created that we use, whether it's technology, buildings, machines, all of those things were created by engineers. And more than just that, it's how to think, and that's what engineers are trained to do, and how to think and how to analyze things. Furthermore, when we talk about Payoli, it's like, oh, how is this related to engineering? How is this related to renewables? And what do we do at Payoli? So I'll be sharing a small video with you here on what we actually do, and then I'll share some details on that as well. Okay, you able to see the video?
We can hear it.
No,
And can you see it or not? Not, you can't see it yet.
No.
Let me just
we're still sharing the presentation.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to here. So what do we do? And we essentially have different solutions, but we effectively work on photovoltaic systems, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that it works and what is solar energy. We also do EV charging, solar batteries. So when people need backup power, you can have different sources, and our preferred one is the solar batteries. And we also have roofing division that works, specifically on solar roofing and integrated photovoltaics. Moreover, it's the microgrid. So there's no one single solution that works for the communities. We have various solutions for that. And typically we integrate all of these solutions, and most of them are renewables, so that we can put a much more robust and much more reliable grid, otherwise called a microgrid, instead of having a centralized grid. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. You guys are able to see my screen, correct?
Yes, yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. And our core business, essentially, it is to give people peace of mind and energy independence. When you think of energy and you think of the sun, okay, so how do we make the sun available and its power available to everyone? And it is through a photovoltaic or solar energy, solar panels. It means it offers our clients the opportunity to produce and store their own energy with microgrid systems, which is mostly the solar panels. So as engineers, we tend to think, okay, what is the problem and how can we offer a solution to that? And that is what we do. Well, the problem is right now, most people depend 100% on the utility and the grid. And the electricity keeps getting more and more expensive without a way to control it, or how to use it, or when to use it. You get charged at different rates as well, depending on where you are. So they have no control over their energy source. And what we do, on the contrary, is to offer a solution that's going to be designing, building, and installing a smart energy solution and approach where all of these clients' energy needs are going to be met. And that is what we do at Payoli Solar. What is solar energy? Let's brief you a little bit on what that is so we get a general idea on how that works. You guys are seeing my screen, the video?
Yes, but no sound.
Question.
Now,
What's the most
Now.
abundant energy
Yes.
source in our solar system? Here's a hint. It's 1 million times bigger than the Earth. And without it, our planet would be a dark, cold rock floating in space. You guessed it, the incredible, brilliant sun. The Earth gets more energy from this ball of fire and gas in one day than the whole world's population uses in an entire year. Every living thing depends on the sun for its existence, from tiny microbes deep in the ocean to plants, animals, and people. Humans have been tinkering with solar energy since the dawn of time. Ancient civilizations used glass and mirrors to light fires, but it wasn't until the 1950s that technology was developed to convert the sun's energy into electricity using photovoltaic cells. Today, solar technology is more efficient and less expensive, and is used all around the globe to create electricity, heat water, cook food, and even power vehicles. So how do solar panels usually work? When the sun hits a solar panel, material inside, usually silicon, absorbs the energy. This causes the electrons in its atoms to get very excited and start dancing around. The atoms then get hot and shed the electrons, which travel out of the panel, through copper wiring, and zap! We have electricity. A control device, called an inverter, changes this electricity from direct current to the alternating current we use. The electricity then passes from breaker boxes to outlets and into electrical items, like your computer and lights. Whatever you don't use can go back into the grid to be used by someone else. So there you have it, the amazing power of the sun. Some people see a future where most of our energy can come from this pollution-free and renewable resource. And that's a sunny outlook that will make the whole world smile.
perfect. So back to the presentation here. And so essentially solar energy, it's the way it works is you have a solar panel that's going to absorb sunlight, that's going to convert that sunlight, photovoltaic, from a photon, which is a light particle, into electricity. And what do we have to do? We have to capture that electricity and somehow, transfer that to the home. And also we exchange power with the utility so that we get a credit for that. That's called net energy metering. But effectively, we are capturing the sun rays and convert that into electricity for our very own use. What do we actually do at Payoli? We are an engineering, procurement, and construction company. And the way to think about it is we are specializing in solar energy, but we'll put everything together from the beginning all the way to the sale of the equipment, the installation, and the service that needs to happen after the system has been installed. So we handle the entire process from, again, number one, the assessment. We design the systems. We engineer the systems, right? We do all this, the plan sets and the permitting for that. The installation, we have crews that install, as you can see here in the background, we're installing a job right there. And then the follow-up service. Why? Because a lot of what we do has to do with having a relationship with our clients. It's not a one-time thing, but more of a service, having energy as a service per se. So the assessment is effectively just understanding what are the needs and the expectations that people have, whether it's a homeowner, whether it's a school, it's a business. Okay, I need this much power, and what do I need that power, and how is this power distributed, and how many panels do I need, or what kind of solution do I need in order to ensure that, number one, I get the power that I need, the amount, and that I have power whenever I need it. Because it's not just a factor of how much, but constantly having power, especially when you have mission critical situations like a school, or you have a clinic or hospital that needs to have power at all times. So we do the design. We make sure that, okay, here's the type of roof that you have. Let's make sure that we understand the angle with respect to the roof, how much irradiation is it going to have, from the sun, and how many panels do we need on that. We confirm that through engineering. We'll go out and do a size survey, and we'll actually determine, okay, this is a good fit for this roof. This is a good design. So we'll confirm that before we send it out to the city. That means the building department, for them to approve. Once we send them, we submit that, we'll wait for the permits. When we have a permit, as you know, we have permits here when you build something, whether it's any kind of construction, you have to stick to the codes, and you have to be able to comply with the requirements and the regulatory conditions there. So we make sure that we do this through a permitting process. And then after we get the permit, we go ahead and do the installation. So that's when our crews will go out and we'll start installing the system per the plans and per the design that we have intended. More importantly, it's not just about wrapping the job and saying, okay, it works, let's move on, we're done. The relationship, it's never done, because as long as you have people and you have somebody using that installation or that power, we have to service it. And that's the whole thing about renewables. It should be a service rather than just a one-time solution kind of thing. I'll share with you some of the projects that we have worked in the last couple of years. This is one that was for Gulliver Preparatory School. It was a solar canopy. They had the idea to have a covered area for the pickup and drop off. And we said, you know what if you make that renewable? What if you add solar panels to it? And it will eventually pay for yourself through the savings that you're going to get from this power that it's generating. So the power is about 64 kilowatt. That's the system size of how we measure solar energy. The technology, we use bifacial solar panels. What are bifacial solar panels? You have panels that are producing both from the top, and they also capture sun rays or reflective energy from the bottom as well. And the job is to do the whole engineering procurement, which is to gather all the equipment, the materials that need to happen there in the construction. Some of the challenges that we face when we're doing these kind of projects are going to be, number one, we do live in Florida, and as you know, we have hurricanes down here. So it has to be hurricane proof. It has to be able to withstand at least a category 4 wind, which is about 180 miles per hour, which is, you wouldn't think that this structures actually hold that, but they do. And then obviously you want to make sure that we also keep them beautiful, because you don't just want to put a structure that doesn't look good out there. It has to have that dual purpose of serving, to have as a cover for the pickup and drop up, but it has to be able to produce power. And then you're going to go through a lot of different obstacles, because you have to also coordinate with all of the different trades, whether it's the electrical contractor, the civil contractor, you have the plumbers, you have the mechanical guys going all at the same time. And that's a lot of coordination that we do for these kinds of jobs. Moreover, we have some other examples where you have a warehouse, big warehouse, logistics company, you have somebody's home. So you have solar panels on top of that. You have different kinds of installations depending on the roof that you have. You have a metal roof, you have a shingle roof, you have a tile roof. We also do it for other organizations and not-for-profits. In the bottom case, you'll see that's a park in Miami Beach that we recently did. And it's an amazing because it was essentially an abandoned area, and we converted with a contractor, the general contractor, this into a park that is powered by solar energy. Now, what is the future of renewable energy? The future essentially lies in two things, specifically in the solar industry. Number one, the solar systems will be fully integrated with everything else in the home business. So that means, most homes and businesses will power themselves with solar energy. Whether it's localized, that means it's going to be on the top of the roof, it's going to be in the ground, it's going to be in the back of, or if they have a backyard or something, or it will come from the utilities, but the utilities are mostly going to be powered by solar energy. It's going to be a combination thereof. Solar is not the answer to everything, but it is a big majority. And as of today, over the last 3 years, the biggest addition to the overall energy infrastructure that we have in the US has been solar energy. So the fastest growing and the biggest growing source of energy has been solar over the past 3 consecutive years. And the other part of it is storage will become standard. That means most people will have some sort of backup power or batteries, power. And what we know today is the batteries. So you'll have residential or commercial batteries to be able to store that power because the sun is producing throughout the day, but we also use energy at night. So what do? We store that power so we can use it at night when the sun is not shining. The same happens with emergency situations where you have a hurricane, you have a power outage. How are you going to protect yourself from that? And that happens with, through the means of a battery or a storage device that's going to store the power. Last but not least is the EVs, the electric vehicles. EV stands for electric vehicles, will become batteries as well. So some people have already started using this as a backup source for their homes. If you have an electric vehicle and you have the technology required to be able to connect that to your home, you can effectively back up your house with the battery of the vehicle. That's still ongoing, and it's not well defined yet today, but there are cases where it's already working. So EVs will become batteries, and they will serve as an additional source of power in case of immediate need. Microgrids, smarter grids that don't rely on a central power plant. So what is this? Essentially, you're building a mini grid or a microgrid at the location of where you need that power. Let's say that we have a school. We can build a microgrid that includes the utility, right? It includes solar power, it includes wind, it includes geothermal, and other kinds of energy. Moreover, we're going to see that AI takes control. We're going to use artificial intelligence to give us insights as to what is the best and optimal way to operate these systems. So that is what we see happening out there, microgrids and AI being a big part of the renewable energy sector. The technology will be completely integrated into the architecture. What is that? Aesthetics. I mean, a lot of people look at it and say, oh, well, I mean, it's all nice and dandy, but I just don't like the way solar panels look. And there is a solution out there that's starting to integrate the aesthetics aspect of it as well. So you will have solar roofs like the Tesla solar roof. You'll have other integrated photovoltaics. You have facades, you have rails, you have floors. And in the future, there is even, testing going on for paint that can actually absorb sunlight and convert that into power. So there's a lot more coming. This is just the beginning, and it's starting to look more like everything's going to be integrated and be part of the actual design instead of just having a solar panel separate from the actual structure. What are the most valuable skills to work in the solar industry? Well, I mean, I think they overlap with a lot of the things that you'll see out there in engineering. Some of them are going to be the technical side of things, which is the foundation of STEM, right? You have the science, technology, engineering, and math. problem solving as engineers, and we're trying to also solve a problem, which is energy. How do we get the amount of energy that we need to everyone, and that they have not only what they need, but when they need it. Now, that's very important. Data and digital controls, understanding how these things work, and getting yourself in a position where you can learn how these systems work and train yourself will give you an edge for sure. And then the electrical knowledge. You have to have some basic electrical knowledge to be able to operate the systems and understand how they work, to design for those as well. Besides that, some of the soft skills that I think everyone needs, as it's not just unique to the engineering field or to the renewable energy sector, is the soft skills. That means this: what's valuable here, the grit and the persistence. You have to be consistent on everything that you do. You have to strive for better and more, and go for your dreams, and go for the to take over the world, and try to achieve those goals that you have set for yourself. Communication. A couple of things that I always tell people is, if you can market, if you know marketing and you know how to sell, you can take over the world. The rest, it's just building, what your dream around that. But if you can communicate, it will give you definitely a big advantage over most people, and over the industry as well. Adaptability, reacting quickly to changes. Things happen. I can tell you, there's a lot of policy changes that are going on when it comes to renewable sectors. There's tax credits, there's benefits, there's regulatory environment that changes all the time. And if we do not adapt to this quickly, then we wouldn't be in business still. So adapting to situations is also a very important part of business and life in general. High attention to detail. We have to be highly attentive to detail. We have to be prepared. We have to understand and listen to the client or the customer. And our customer could be our families, it could be our boss, it could be the community, it could be our church, it could be our teachers, it could be our students. Anybody could be your client or your customer, and you should treat everyone as a client with high attention and customer focus. Very important. If you understand the voice of the customer, you can satisfy a need, and you can also, create a lifestyle around that. This is a very important one, a very, very good question that they ask me all the time. And it's just, what is the one thing that I wish I'd known sooner in my career? I can tell you two things, but the primarily it's having a mentor that guides you through. The process is always important. The one big thing, and stick to it, finding something that you really like and that you're passionate about, and that you can actually leverage that to build a lifestyle around that. It's what I would say would help a lot. I always fall back to this concept. It's called the hedgehog concept. And effectively what it's saying is focusing on one simple, powerful idea. And there's three parts to it, three circles that converge. And in the middle, it's that sweet spot. Number one, find something that you're extremely passionate about. That you really like, and you would do even if they didn't pay you to do it, right? That's number one. Number two, right? You're gonna find the skill to do it, right? And whether you have natural talent or you can train yourself to be the best at it. So identifying where you're good at, and also on the contrary where you're not good at, so that you can either work on it, but mostly focus on what you're really good at. And if you can become the best at it, combined with that passion, we have a winning duo here. But last and not least, which is very important, is the economic engine. And that means being able to leverage that to create a lifestyle around it, to make money off of it, because we can't live off of good intentions. We have to be able to provide something that adds value to somebody or society or the community. If you're not adding value in everything that you do, it is not going to be sustainable. So you have to be consistent by being passionate, having the skills or training yourself to do that, and be able to leverage that to make a living out of that. So typically, when one of these things are not present, it is not going to be sustainable, and you probably won't be doing it for a long time. So it is very important that you keep yourself on check. And this is something that has helped me in my career, throughout my career at any given time. I also look at this every time I have a new plan for a business or some other company that I want to create. I ask myself, number one, do I have the skill for that? Okay. Can we make money out of it? And number three is, am I really passionate about it? If we have those three, you have a much bigger chance of succeeding than if you don't. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it for the presentation. I would like to open the floor for any questions or any comments that you guys have.
Thank you so much. This presentation was amazing. I think you answered a lot of questions that I personally had about what were microgrids and all of that. So I really appreciate that. We are going to open it up to questions. So if anybody has questions, they can either get themselves off mute, or you can put it in the chats as well. To start off, I actually have a question that was asked previously about solar panels and what happens, what is the lifespan of a solar panel, and what happens to that solar panel once it no longer works?
Very good question. So the lifespan of a solar panels, it's literally over 40 years. Naturally, it will lose efficiency over time. So a solar panel that is, producing 100% today, it's not going to produce 100% of that capacity. 30 years from now, it will lose some of that efficiency, but it should still work. We have panels that have been working for over 40 years in the satellite, right, in outer space. That was one of the primary applications that they had sought for outer space, because it's okay, how do we power the equipment that's going to be out there? We can't get power to it, so it has to be able to produce its own power with the sun. So they've been working for many years. What does happen after they are out of commission or no longer working, or more likely it's just not that they're working, more likely it's just that they lost so much efficiency that it's no longer feasible, so they'll replace them. So there is a process to recycle them, and they'll split into different components and recycle those parts as much as possible. Now, there is a big controversy on the process of how do you make solar panels, and is it really, avoiding a carbon footprint versus just having the traditional, fuels, right? So there's a lot of controversy there, but it's still much cleaner than otherwise, which is the alternative, which is fossil fuels.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions just yet, but I do know that we have a school, Miami Carroll City is here, and they have a new magnet program that focuses on EVs. Can you talk to me a little bit more about electric vehicles and the EV storage, like the EV batteries that you all work on in the projects? And are you seeing that kind of growing here in Miami?
Yeah, great question. By the way, I love schools and public private magnet schools. I actually went to a magnet school here in Miami, Coral Reef. So magnet programs are always good. But when it comes to EVs, it is something that a lot of people think, oh, it's something of the future. Not today. I mean, you asked 5 years ago, we had an EV. It was like, wow, it's the new thing. It's like, oh my God, they have an EV. Today, you see that statistically speaking, you have probably 1 in every 4 vehicles out there. It's an electric vehicle today. And what's going on is that it's no longer something that will be, you still have a choice for sure, but you're going to have to decide, okay, do I want to pay for that much gas? And do I want to go to the gas station every so often, where I can just charge that EV at home or at work or somewhere else, and I don't have to go to the gas station, and it happens all just when I leave the car. So those things are happening. Moreover, what we see is that requirements by the city and the building code and the construction industry, it's getting more stringent in the sense that most of new construction has an EV component to that. Why is that? Because let's say that I'm a builder and I'm building a new condominium or I'm building a new community, and that I'm planning to rent out or sell. If I do not have EV chargers there, and I know that probably a fifth or a third of the society has an EV charger, has an EV vehicle, an electric vehicle, they're probably not going to want to move there because it's going to be a problem if they don't have somewhere where they can charge at home. So we are starting to see that. It's part of what we did today. We help build those contractors. We help architects to specify this in the plan so that they're ready for that. So it's becoming more mainstream and almost like a necessity rather than just an optional luxury.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat about why do you think there isn't more solar panels in schools? You mentioned obviously Gulliver, and that's kind of a private school, so they have different funding. But do you know of any districts, public schools, that have been able to install solar panels?
Yes, very good question. There's a lot. Not as many as we would like to see, right? But there are a couple. We've worked on a couple of them. We had we're actually working on the first net zero school here in South Florida, which is the Frederica Wilson Skyway Elementary. That's going to be the first one, and it's going to have a lot of solar energy to it. So it's great. We're excited about that one. It's a public school. We also work on a Henry Reeves School that's up north that has a solar component to it. The reason why most of these schools, or why you don't see a lot of solar, especially in South Florida, which is starting to change, but the reason why it's a couple. Number one, information. When you talk to people, builders, contractors, even the government, they just don't know enough about solar to say, oh, it's feasible, we can do it. Nowadays, the costs have come down significantly where it's affordable and you can actually do it. It's just that nobody cares to, not that I won't say nobody cares, but we fail to do our due diligence as a community. Say, okay, if we're building something for the next 30, 50 years, because that's the intent for a school is to be there for more than 30 years, right? And why aren't we thinking about how are we going to power that for the next 30 years? And if the answer is just, well, just connect to the grid and pay the monthly bill that it's always going up, that's not the right answer, right? So number one is information. Number two, policy. So regulatory environment needs to go hand in hand with the initiatives. There's just not enough going on. We had a good 3 to 4 years of good policy, but now it's getting a little bit tight on that. And funding, right? A lot of these, especially depending on where we are. Florida used to have the most cost-effective or cheap power pretty much in the Southeast US. That's no longer the case. So solar did not make a lot of sense because the finances or the economics behind it were still not that attractive. Whereas today it becomes even more attractive because the utilities keep going on in cost for whatever reason, because everything is going up in cost today. So information is the main thing. And that's why I'm happy to be here, because if we get our new generations to be aware of this and to be cognizant of the fact that there is an alternative that is much more cost effective, green, better, cleaner, right? We should go and at least do our due diligence and evaluate it.
And so, again, I know you probably get a lot of questions about financing, right? So I know that the Inflation Reduction Act, and there had been some, policy related to, nonprofits and, or like businesses helping with the financial of putting solar in schools. Can you tell us a little bit about, how do you answer that question when, people mention, financing? Can I afford this?
Yes. And the answer is today, nowadays, given the financial vehicles that are available out there, if you can afford to pay the utility bill, you can afford to go solar, to have solar. As simple as that. And that is where the information comes in. We always ask, when was the last time you looked at the numbers? When people say, well, I can't afford it. I don't have $40,000, $50,000 to invest in my house right now. I have other priorities. And we get that. But that is no longer an excuse, because we have a way, and the industry has a way to overcome that. And that means financial vehicles. People can get a loan, right, to go solar. and the monthly payment is going to be less than what they're paying to the utility. So you're replacing that bill with a solar bill that's going to be less than what you're paying. So you're saving from day one. Number two, you can get a lease if you don't, you can't afford to have a loan at a different rate. You can get a lease. You do not own the equipment, you rent it, but it's the monthly payment is going to be less than what you're paying the utility, right? Number three, let's say that you do have the cash, you set that aside, you have a return on investment, and you can just, start saving from day one without having to worry about a monthly payment on that. But the answer is whether you're a school, a business, a homeowner, you should and you can go solar. You just have to look for the right partners and the right way of doing it so that it makes sense financially to do that. What you should be careful is just because solar it's good, it doesn't mean that everyone has good intentions out there. So you just got to be careful of that, because they might give you a package that might look good, but it might not get the job done, or you end up paying more money than you're currently spending on power. So that's where you have to be very careful about. Other than that, it makes sense. The question after we talk to people, it's not about the solar makes sense. We're here to walk you through how you can benefit the most from it. When it comes to schools and non-for-profit organizations, there's also a lot of different grants that are available out there. Most of these schools have applied or have gathered, funding through grants, charity, a lot of different things. And you can still go solar, without those, because there's financial vehicles that will provide the means for that.
And to wrap up, I just put up kind of some numbers related to, solar energy. Your team seems to be pretty big, and, mentioned engineers. Can you talk about some of the other jobs, people that you hire, that takes to run a solar company like yours that does so many things? Because, obviously they're not all engineers. So what other types of jobs, do you hire to make your company work?
Excellent question. And it's not like, I can't do it all by myself, right? So you have to always surround people that are smarter than you, right? So we always, that's my motto. You always surround yourself with people that know more than you do, and they can do a better job than at certain things, right? So despite the fact that we're not all engineers, we do have to find common ground. And that is our motto, which is we elevate the meaning of energy. And as long as we work towards that goal, in unison, it's going to be a great outcome. We have people that work in marketing, as you can see, Christina, and I'll let her talk a little bit about that as well. We have Natalia, she's in design. We have an engineering team. We have an accounting team. We have people that work in business development to, teach and educate people on solar energy. What ways can they do it? How can they benefit from that? We have people that work on the design aspect of it. We have people that are working on permitting. We have people that are working on the project coordination. It's like, okay, how do we make sure that everything is moving, all synchronized so nothing falls through the cracks? And it's always a challenge. Nothing is easy. But I would say that focus on doing things with intent, and you'll get somewhere. And that means you might be doing a lot of things. You might be busy. It doesn't mean that you're getting places. So you always have to have a plan, and you always have to have, consensus if you're working with a team, because if we're all pulling in different directions, we're never going to, go in the same direction. It's harder to get to those goals. But I'll let Christina talk a little bit about what she does and how her career path is related to engineering, but she's not an engineer herself. And but she's always surrounded by the aspect, and she can still thrive in this environment.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. As JD mentioned, my name is Christina. I actually studied communications and did a master in marketing, also a couple of courses in finances, and that's something that this company drives us to, and it's always keep on learning, right? As JD says, and I've learned a lot about that, is not feel comfortable. Like look for things that make you feel uncomfortable so you can learn on that. So actually I work in an engineering company, but I'm not an engineer, right? So what I do is I work with the whole team, understanding what the company does and how can we promote and get the clients to know us a little better, right? So I do this via campaigns on social media, traditional marketing, email marketing, events. We are behind the scenes on the sales team, right? So everything the sales teams need, presentation wise, strategy wise, we're always behind curtains. But it's always important to work as a team, right? So I work a lot with the engineers to get to know about new products or services that we're going to offer and what's the right way and the right channels to do so. As well as the finance team, because you need to learn about how to prepare a budget for marketing or for any area, right? Operations to coordinate a visit or pictures or videos on a special project, or with the sales team on events or shows where we are going to target our audiences, right? So it's very important to choose a career that you like and that you're passionate about, but also learn about other areas and keep on learning each time.
Thank you so much, Christina.
One last thing that I do want to leave, our students and generations, the next generation, is the following. When it comes to solar energy and when it comes to renewables, that you have to think of solar as it makes sense. We have to stop thinking of solar as if there's nothing wrong with what I'm going to say, okay? But solar is not only for the tree hugging hippies, right? What I mean by that, this is not about, oh yeah, I love the environment, which I do. I'm cognizant, and I want to, we're not going to save the world by going solar. It's part of the puzzle. But we're not saving the world. We're not saving, the trees. Yes, you are, in a sense, a part of it. And we need to do our, pay our dues when it comes to, let's do things right. I want to be on the right side of history. But it is something that is feasible. It is something that it makes sense. It is a business. It is politics. It is society. It is our will to do things better that's going to carry us through this intention. We should not think of solar because we just have, well, you know what, let me get a fund, let me get a grant or something, because it just, I want to help the environment. It is part of it, but we need to think of it as it is the right thing to do. It makes sense. We just have to show the world how and how it makes sense and how we can do it. That is what I would say.
Well, thank you, to Juan David and your team. Thank you, Christina. We really appreciate your time. The presentation was great, and we want to thank the teachers that were able to join us. As I mentioned, we will be reaching out if there are additional questions that maybe students are shy or didn't come to mind now. And so we want to thank everybody for coming. And if you have any other events that you're open to the public, I know that we've mentioned maybe going out to a couple of schools. And so we'll follow up with you, but we really appreciate your time, your enthusiasm, your passion, and the great information that you have shared with us and with the students today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the opening this space for us.
Bye.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.